What does the conceptual framework of classical traditional theism imply about the universe within which we live? Classical theism establishes the idea that the universe is not the only existence. This is more to existence. How can there be more to existence than life? Eastern religions gave us an answer with which Western religions agree. The answer is simply that something exists beyond our universe, outside our universe. This implies a boundary to our universe. Until recently, this was accepted on faith alone, for no one could conceive of a boundary to our universe. Today, the idea of our universe having a boundary is not as far-fetched as it was once assumed. Science is seriously investigating the idea that the universe began with a Big Bang. This implies that the universe has size. It may be expanding, but it does have size. If this is true, then the next question is what is outside the universe? Many religions would say this is where God is, or where the causative force lies. Then the question becomes, just how big is this causative force? Classical traditional theisms lead to an understanding of the expansion of existence beyond the universe. With this expansion of our idea of existence, the dreams, ideals, creativity, and behavior of humans rose to new levels never before dreamed possible. Classical traditional theisms introduced a new vision, a new perception of what life is. We now exist outside our universe and into eternity. As such, we began viewing each other as soulmates in eternity rather than fellow humans existing simply for a few short decades. This new way of looking at each other changed the way we act toward each other. The idea that our universe was temporary and therefore had to have a beginning led to the need for an omnipresent causative force relative to the universe. Omnipresence of the causative force is the most difficult concept for Western religions to accept in totality. Quote-unquote imperfection existing in a perfect creator did not make logical sense. Therefore, transcendence became a major element of modern religions. If imperfection existing within perfection could be rationalized, then the size of the causative force could be expanded once again. An expansion of the size of the causative force would in turn expand our understanding of our significance for existing. This would once again allow for an explosive elevation in terms of human dreams, ideals, creativity, and behavior. How does the concept of classical traditional theism reinforce the concept of Panentheism? Classical theism expands the idea of existence to beyond the universe by establishing the concept of a God lying outside the universe. This idea leads us closer to Panentheism. Classical traditional theism expands the idea of existence into eternity itself. It established the idea of the causative force, or God, including everything except the universe. The Western acceptance of an omnipresent causative force excluding the universe had a major impact upon us. We see ourselves outside of the causative force. This contradicts the idea of omnipresence, which has led us to accept the ideas that contradictions are acceptable, for if they can apply to our most fundamental beliefs, then they are okay to accept in our daily lives. Now it is okay to say all men are created equal, but not to treat them as such. Now it is okay to say the environment belongs to everyone, but rationalize the pollution of the waters, air, and land. Now it is okay to say everyone has the right to life, but then terminate millions through capital punishment, abortions, euthanasia, warfare, mercy killings, and assisted suicides. This is not to say classical theism hasn't improved upon our lives immensely. It just says that the contradictions present open the door for abusive human behavior. This leads to the logic that traditional theism hasn't led us all the way to the end of our understanding regarding a causative force. It just points the way, and the direction points toward panentheism. Symbiotic panentheism, process panentheism, eschatological panentheism, to mention a few variations. We have but to expand upon the size of the causative force even more. As the major religions of the world, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, etc., took hold, the status of humans improved. It is undeniable that many atrocious events occurred throughout our history under the name of religion, and atheists tend to point this out as proof that there is no God. Today, the value of a life has significantly more meaning than it did even 100 years ago. Most of this is due to the global understanding we have of the tie life has to eternity. As we expand our perception of size of the causative force, we seem to expand the perception we have of the value of life. If this is the case, what would happen if we expanded it even more? Additionally, I would comment that upon expanding the size of God in the world, or in this case, the world or the universe to be within God, there would be less of a dualism between good and evil as well. Evil would be perhaps sized out. So instead of having the doctrines of a God versus Satan or God versus world, a totally separatist, sectarian concept, Panentheism would offer the non-dual concept of a fully omnipresent God, and therefore, conceptually, within time, with an eschatological panentheism of a new heaven and a new earth, Satan at that point is cast out into the lake of fire. And so the hard substance dualism found within classical theism would be not an issue. So fully omnipresent God would mean, according to Revelation, there was no room found for them anymore. I believe that's in Revelation 12. The accuser of the brethren, war in heaven, so to speak. So the potential for symbiotic panentheism to bring peace,